Hello friends, my name is Mayanka. I am accounts and finance trainer from UPLETS. Today we are covering the topic of employee cost, calculation of employee cost. How we will calculate employee cost. We cover this topic in two parts, part 1 and part 2. Today today we are covering part 1 of employee cost. Now we will start this video. Employee cost. In this chapter, we will cover employee cost controls, attendance and payroll procedures, employee turnover, efficiency rating procedures, employee cost. Employee cost includes idle time cost and overtime cost, and we will also consider the wages payment and the incentive systems. In this chapter, we will cover all these points. And this chapter is divided into two parts. This is part 1 of this chapter. First, we will cover introduction of employee cost. Introduction. Cost of paying wages to the workers is popularly known as labor cost as it relates to the labor they put for manufacturing of the product or provision of the services. Is that when there is any amount or when there is any cost which is paid to the customer, pay to the worker in the consideration of their work, or the amount of the wages which is paid by the organization to the workers is popularly known as labor cost, or it is also known as employee cost. It is related to the work which is done by the such workers. In the case of manufacturing organization, when there are workers who when there are workers who perform or manufacture any product or provide any services, then in the consideration of such manufacturing activities and in the consideration of production or the provision of any services, the amount which is paid by the organization is to be known as employee cost or is to be known as labor cost. Hence, employee cost is also interchangeably known as labor cost. Employee cost can also be considered or it is to be known as labor cost. In a nutshell, employee cost is wider than include wages, salary, bonus, incentive, etc., which is paid to an employee and charged to a cost object as labor cost. The employee cost is a very wider term which include wages, salary, bonus, and the amount of incentives and other things which is paid by the employer to the employee and which is charged as a cost, which is charged as a cost to a cost objective, or it is charged as a labor cost to a cost objective. Is that such amount is included in the cost of any cost objective. Employee cost or labor cost. Benefits which is paid or payable to the employee of an entity, whether permanent or temporary, for the service which is rendered by them. Is that any amount of benefit which is paid, any amount of benefit which is paid or which is payable, any amount of benefit which is paid or which is payable by the entity to the to the employee. Such employee may be permanent employee or maybe temporary employee. Then the amount of benefit which is paid or payable by the company to the employee in the consideration of their services. So such amount is to be known as employee cost. Employee cost includes payment which is made in cash or kind. Is then is that any of the payment which is made in cash or which is made in kind is to be considered as employee cost or labor cost. Employee costs include the following. Employee costs include the following: wages and salary, wages and salary, allowances and incentives, payment for the overtime, employer contribution to the provident fund and other welfare funds, other benefits just like leave with pay, free or subsidized food, leave, travel concession, etc. Is that the employee costs include these following costs. Number one, wages and salary. Number two, allowances and incentives. Number three, payment for the overtime. Number four, employer contribution, which is made the amount of employer contribution which is made by the employer to the provident fund and other welfare funds and other benefits. These all are included in the cost of employee benefits. Classification of employee cost. Now we will discuss the classification of the labor cost or classification of employee cost. Employee costs are broadly classified as is that the employee costs are classified into two parts. Number one, direct employee cost, and number two is indirect employee cost. Is that the employee costs are divided into two parts: direct employee cost and indirect employee cost. What is the meaning of direct employee cost? Direct employee cost means the benefit which is paid or which is payable to the employee which can be attributed to the cost which is attributed or which can be related to a cost objective in an economically feasible manner. Is that the employee benefit direct employee cost is a cost or it is the amount of benefit which is paid or which is payable to the employee, and such benefit can be related to a cost objective in a economical in a economically feasible manner. Is that the benefit which can be directly relate to a cost objective, then it is to be known as direct cost or it is to be known as direct employee cost. This can be easily identified and allocated to an activity. Direct employee cost can be easily identified and it can be allocated or it can be bifurcated to the activity, to the contract and cost center, customer, process, product, etc. Is that the employee cost can be identified as well as it can be allocated very easily and in a proper manner. Then it is to be known as direct employee cost. And what is the meaning of indirect employee cost? What is the meaning of indirect labor cost? The benefit which is paid or payable to the employee which cannot be the benefits which cannot be directly attributable to a particular cost object in an economically feasible manner is to be known as indirect employee cost. Is that the benefits which are not directly which are not or which cannot be directly attributable to a particular cost object in the feasible in the economically feasible manner, then such benefits are to be known as indirect benefit cost, indirect employee cost. Is that the benefits which are paid or payable to the employee which are directly attributable to the particular product is to be known as direct employee cost, and the benefits which are payable to the employee which are not directly attributable to a particular cost object, then it is to be known as indirect employee cost. Then now we will discuss the differences between direct and indirect employee cost. What are the differences between direct and indirect employee cost? Number one, direct employee cost. It is the cost which is incurred in the payment of employees who are directly engaged in the production process. Direct employee cost is a cost which is incurred. Direct employee cost is a cost which is incurred in the payment of employee, the employee who are directly engaged in the production process. Is that when there is any payment which is made to the employees who are directly the employees who are directly engaged in the production process, then such cost is to be known as direct cost. And the second, and in the case of indirect employee cost, the cost which is incurred for the payment of employees who are not directly, the cost which is incurred for the payment to the employee who are not directly engaged in the production process, then such cost is to be known as indirect employee cost. Second is direct employee cost can be easily identified and allocated to the cost unit. The direct employee cost can be identified very easily and it can be allocated to the particular cost unit. But in the case of indirect employee cost, it is apportioned on the basis of appropriate basis, because indirect cost cannot be allocated to the cost unit. It is apportioned on the basis of appropriate basis. Third one is direct employee cost varies with the volume of production. The direct employee cost will be vary with the production or with the volume of production and has the positive relationship with the volume. Is that when there is the increase in the production volume, then the employee cost will also be increased, and if there is any reduction in the production, then the employee cost will be decreased. Is that there is the direct or positive relationship with the volume of the direct employee cost. But indirect employee cost may not vary with the volume of production. Direct employee cost may not be vary with the production or with the volume of production. Then these are the differences between the direct employee cost and the indirect employee cost. On the basis of this, we can understand what is direct employee cost or what is indirect employee cost. Employee control cost. Now we will discuss employee control cost. How we control, how we can control the employee cost, because in the case of manufacturing or in the case of business, the organization want to control the cost. So in the case of employee cost, how we can control the employee cost. Now we will discuss it in detailed form. Employee control cost means employee cost controls mean control over the cost which is incurred on employees. Employee cost control means the control of the cost which is incurred over the employee. Control over employee cost does not imply control over the size of waste bill. Is that If there is any control over the employee cost, then it will not be indicate that it will not be or it does not imply the control over the size of wage bill. It also not imply that the wages of each employee should be taken as low as possible. Is that if there is any organization wants to if there is a organization wants to control the employee cost, then it is not then it is not implied that there is a control over the size of wage bill, or the wages of such employees should be capped as lower as possible. Means if in the case of control, in the case of employee cost control, there will not be reduced in the wages of employee, and there will not be reduction in the size of wage bill. In the case of employee cost control, the main objective or the aim of such control is the aim of the employee cost control should be kept the wages per unit of output as low or as possible. Is that the main objective of the employee cost control should be to keep the wages rate per unit of output as low as possible. Is that in the case of employee control cost, the price the wages rate per unit should be low should be as low as possible, because if it is low, then the price of the goods become low. This can only be achieved. This can only be achieved by giving employee appropriate compensation to encourage efficiency, so that optimum output can be achieved in efficient manner. For the purpose and for the fulfillment this aim, the this this aim can be achieved by giving employee appropriate compensation, so that the employee can increase its efficiency and can obtain the optimum production. And when such employee receive the appropriate amount of compensation, then then he will increase his efficiency and produce the goods in the optimum manner and in the increased manner. So, when he performs the activity properly and efficiently, then the cost, then the wages cost per unit will be decreased, because when he perform the work efficiently, then the production of the goods will be more. When the production will be more, then the wages rate per unit will automatically decrease. Now we will discuss the important factors for control of employee cost. Now we will discuss the certain factors or the important factor for control the employee cost. The main points which need consideration for controlling the employee cost are as follows. Is that there are certain main points which are to be considered for controlling the employee cost. These points are as follows. Number one, assessment of manpower requirement. Number one, assessment of manpower requirements. Is that for the control, there should be a proper assessment of the manpower requirement. The entity assess the requirement of the manpower. Number two, control over timekeeping and time booking. There should be a proper control. When there is any organization want to establish the control of employee cost, then there should be a proper control over time keeping and time booking, time and motion study. There should be a proper time and motion study. Control over idle time and overtime. There should be a proper control over a idle time and over a overtime also. There should be a proper analysis of, or there should be the proper control over the employee turnover. Wages and incentive system. The wages and the incentive system should also be considered for controlling the employee cost. Job evaluation and merit rating. Job evaluation and the merit rating will also be considered for controlling the employee cost and employee productivity. These all are the points which all are important and which all are to be considered for controlling the employee cost. Collection of employee cost. Now we will discuss the collection of employee cost. Who will collect and how we will collect the employee cost. The task of collecting the employee cost is performed by the cost accounting department, which record separately wages which is paid to direct or indirect employees. The task of collection of the employee cost is done by the cost accounting department. The cost accounting department who record the cost accounting department who records the wages which is paid to the direct employee or the indirect employee separately. It is the duty of the cost accounting department to ascertain the effective wages which is paid per hours in each department. It is the responsibility or it is the duty of the cost department. It is the responsibility or it is the duty of the cost accounting department to determine or to ascertain the effective wages which is paid per hour in each department and to analyze the total payment of wages which is made by such department, which is made to each department. Is that the task of collecting the employee cost or labor cost is performed by the cost accounting department, and it is the responsibility of the cost accounting department to ascertain the effective wages which is paid per hour in each department, and this is also the responsibility of the cost accounting department to analyze the total payment of the wages which is made to each and every department. In this case, the cost accounting department analyze the amount which is included in the direct cost of good produced or job completed. Is that the cost accounting department analyze the total payment of wages of each department into the amount which is included in the direct cost of goods which is produced or the job which is completed, and the amount which is treated as indirect employee cost and thus included in overhead. Is that the cost accounting department analyze the amount which is included in the direct cost of goods produced and job completed, and the department will also analyze the amount which is treated as indirect employee cost, and after the analysis and after the collection of such cost, the department include it in overhead, and the department will also analyze the amount which is treated as the cost of idle time and it will be considered as loss. And the last, the department will also analyze the amount which is treated as abnormal loss or abnormal gain, and such amount to be transferred to the profit and loss account. Then all these analyses are to be done by the cost accounting department to determine the employee cost or to determine the labor cost. What is the meaning of idle time? What is the meaning of idle time? The time during which no production is carried out because the worker remain idle but are paid. Is that the idle time is a time during which no production is made. During which no production is made because the employee or the worker remain idle but he is eligible for the payment. In other word, in other words, it is the differences between the time paid and the time booked. The idle time is the differences between the time which is paid and the time which is booked. Idle time can be normal or it can be abnormal. The time for which the employee are the time for which employees are paid include holiday, paid leaves, allowable rest or off time, etc. The time for which the employee are eligible for the payment include holidays, paid leaves, allowable rest or off time, etc. What is the meaning of normal idle time? Idle time may be normal or it may be abnormal. Then what is the meaning of normal idle time? It is a time which cannot be avoided or reduced in the normal course of business. Is that the normal idle time is a time which cannot be avoided or which cannot be reduced in the normal course of business. Now we will discuss the cause and the treatment of the normal idle time. Cause: the time lost between factory gate and to workplace. The time which is lost between the factory gate and place of work, then it is treated as part of cost of the production. And thus, in case of direct worker, an allowance for normal idle time is considered setting of standard hours or standard rate. Is that when the time which is consumed between gate, factory gate and the place of work, then it is a normal idle time, and the treatment of such idle time is that it is to be treated as the part of cost of production. Such time or such idle time is to be considered as cost of production. Thus, in the case of direct worker, an employee, thus in the case of direct worker, an allowance for the normal idle time is considered setting of standard hours or standard rate. Number two, the interval between the job and the another. When there is any interval between one job and another, and the setting up time for the machine. When there is any interval between one job to another job, or when there is a setting up time for the machine. In this case, in case, in this case, if in the case of indirect worker, then the normal idle time is to be considered for the computation of overhead rate. Is that if it is related to the indirect workers, then such a normal idle time is to be considered for the computation of overhead rate. And the fourth cause is normal rest time and break for lunch. Normal rest time and the break for lunch, then it should also be considered for the computation of overhead rate because it is a normal idle time. It cannot be avoidable. Then, on the basis of this, we have discussed normal idle time and the cause as well as the treatment of such a normal idle time. Now, we will discuss abnormal idle time. What is the meaning of abnormal idle time? Apart from normal idle time, there may be factors which give rise to abnormal idle time. Is that the idle norm the idle time other than normal idle time is to be known as abnormal idle time. Is that the idle time which can be the idle time which can be avoidable, is that which can be avoided, then it is to be known as abnormal idle time. Causes and the treatment of abnormal idle time. Number one cause is idle time may also arise due to the abnormal factors like lack of coordination. The idle time may also arise due to the abnormal factors like lack of coordination, and the idle time can be arise due to the power failure, breakdown of machine. In this case, the abnormal idle time cost is not included as a part of production cost, and it it is shown as a separate item in the costing profit and loss account. The cost of abnormal item time should be further categorized into and controllable and uncontrollable for each category. Is that when there is a cause, when the idle time which is arise due to the abnormal factors, or when the idle time which is arise due to the power failure, breakdown of machinery, and when the idle time arise due to the non availability of raw material, lockouts, poor supervision, fire, flood, etc. And the cause for normal idle time should be further analyzed into controllable and non-controllable. Then, in this case, the treatment will be the normal idle time. The normal idle time cost is not included as a part of cost of production or production cost, and it is shown as a separate item in the costing profit and loss account. The cost of abnormal item time should be further categorized into controllable and non-controllable for each category, and the breakup of the cost which is arise due to the various factors should be separately shown. This would help the management in fixing the responsibility for controlling the idle time. Is that when the idle time costs are divided into two parts, controllable and non-controllable. On the basis of this, the management can identify the cost which can be controlled. And on the basis of this, the management fix the responsibility for controlling the idle time. And in this case, the management should aim to eliminate the controllable, which can be controlled, idle time, and on the long term basis reduce even the normal idle time. This would require a detailed analysis of the cost which is leading to the such idle time. Then, what is the meaning of when the costs are divided into two parts, controllable abnormal idle time and non controllable or uncontrollable abnormal idle time? Then what is the meaning of, there is a question, what is the meaning of controllable or non or uncontrollable abnormal idle time? Then the controllable abnormal idle time refer to that time which could have been put to productive use had the management be more alert and efficient. all such time would all such time which could have been avoided in the controllable idle time is that the time the idle abnormal idle time which can be controllable or which can be eliminated, then such time is to be known as controllable abnormal idle time. And uncontrollable idle time is it is a time which is lost due to the abnormal causes over which the management does not have any control. Is that when there is any there is any idle time on which the management does not have any control, then such a abnormal idle time is to be known as uncontrollable or non-controllable idle time. Such time cannot be controlled, just like breakdown of machinery, flood, fire. Then these are the uncontrollable abnormal idle time. For now, we will discuss the idle time, abnormal idle time, and the treatment of idle time on the basis of example. Mr. X, an employee of ABC company, gets the following in and Mr. X is the employee of ABC Limited, and he gets the following emoluments and the benefits. He said this is the detail of total payment or benefit which is received by Mr. X from ABC company. Basic payment 10,000 रुपये per month, DNS allowance 2,000 रुपये per month, basic pay 10,000 rupees per month, DNS allowance 2,000 rupees per month, bonus 20% of salary and DA. Is there the amount of bonus is 20% of basic salary plus DA, and other allowances is 2,500 per month. Employer contribution to the PF is 10% of salary and DA. Mr. X works for 2,400 hours per annum, out of which 400 hours are non-protective and treated as normal idle time. On the basis of these details, you are required to compute the effective hourly cost of employee X. Is that on the basis of this data, compute the effective hours cost of employee X. First, we will calculate the effective working hours. The effective working hours is normal working hours less normal idle time. Then the normal working hours is 2,400 hours in a year less 400 hours which are considered as normal idle time. Then the total effective working hours is 2,000. The normal effective working hours are 2,000 hours. Then we will calculate the effective hours cost. Earning of Mr. X is 10,000 rupees per month. Basic pay is 10,000 rupees per month. Then the total basic pay for a year is 1,20,000. Basic pay 1,20,000. And DNS allowance 2,000 into 12 is 24,000. And bonus, which is 20% of basic plus DA. Then it is 28,800 per year. And the employer contribution, which is 1,200 rupees per month. Then it is 14,400 rupees per year. And other allowances, which are 2,500 rupees per month. Then the total for per annum is 30,000. Then the total amount of earning per month is 18,100, and for a year it is 2,17,200. And This is the amount of total total earning of Mr. X. And the effective working hours is 2000. Then the effective hourly cost is equal to 2,17,200 divided by 2000 hours. Is that total earning divided by effective working hours is equal to effective hours cost, which is 108.6. Is that 2,17,200 divided by 2000, then 108.60 rupees is the per hour cost. Then, on the basis of this example, now we can understand how to calculate the hours, effective cost per hours. Now we will discuss second example. Another example for the more understanding. Example, in a factory working 60 in a week, there is a factory which is working 6 in a week, 6 days in a week, and 8 hours per day. A worker is paid at the rate of 100 rupees per day, basic plus DA. Is that the worker is paid at the rate of 100 rupees per day, basic plus DA, at the rate 120% of basic. He is allowed to take 30 minutes off during his hours shift for meals and for meal break and 10 minutes for recess for the rest. Is that he can take 30 minutes for the lunch break and he can take 10 minutes for the rest for the purpose of rest. During a week, his card showed that his time was chargeable too. During a week, his card showed that his time was chargeable to job X 15 hours, job Y 12 hours, and job Z 13 hours. The time not booked was wasted while waiting for a job. In cost accounting, state how would you allocate the wages of the worker for the week? Now, on the basis of this data, now we will calculate the amount of wages to the worker for a week. Then, first, we will calculate effective hours in a week. Now, first we will calculate the effective hours per a week. He worked 8 hours per day and he is eligible for the 30 minutes for lunch break or for the food break plus 10 hours for the 10 minutes for the rest. Then, and he works 6 days in a week. Then the total working hour for a week is 44 hours. Total effective hours in a week is 44 hours. Total wages for a week is basic 100 rupees and the DA is 120% of basic. Then it is 100 plus 120% of 100 for 6 days. Because he works 6 days in a week, then the total amount of wages for a week is 1320, 1320 rupees only. And wages rate per hour is equal to 1320 divided by 44 effective hours is equal to 30 rupees per hour. Time which is wasted waiting for the job is when the time which is waste due to job, which is to be considered as abnormal idle time because it is a abnormal. It is 44, it is the effective hours, less 15 hours, less 12 hours, and less 13 hours. Is that total is equal to 4 hours, which is waste for waiting for a job. Then 4 hours is the time which is wasted waiting for a job, which is the abnormal idle time. Then now we will discuss the allocation of job. Allocation of job X 15 hours into 30 rupees per hour, 450 rupees, and allocated to job B 12 hours and 30 rupees per hour, then 360 rupees per 360 rupees for the job Y, and allocation to job Z 13 hours and 30 rupees per hour, then 390 rupees for job X, and the amount which is charged to costing profit and loss account means abnormal hours is 4 hours into 30 rupees per hour. Then the total amount of earning is 1320, which is allocated or which is bifurcated in this following manner. So he will earn 1320 rupees as the earning. Then on the basis of this example, we have understand the calculation of earning and how to consider the idle time at the time of calculation of earning. Now we will discuss overtime. What is the meaning of overtime? Overtime means the work which is done beyond the normal working hour is known as overtime work. When there is any person or there is any employee who worked beyond the normal working hours, then such work is to be known as overtime work, and such beyond working hour time is to be considered as overtime. Overtime payment is an amount of the wages which is paid for working beyond the normal working hours. Is that the overtime payment is a payment which is made when there is any employee who performed or who worked beyond the normal working hours. Overtime payment consists of two elements. The overtime payment consists two elements. Number one, normal wages for overtime work plus the amount of premium for overtime work. Is that in the case of overtime payment, the overtime payment consists two elements. Number one is normal wages for the overtime work, normal wages for the overtime work plus the premium, the amount of premium which the premium payment for the such overtime work. Is that overtime payment is equal to the wages which is paid for the overtime at the normal rate plus the extra or the premium payment for the overtime work. Overtime premium, what is the meaning of overtime premium? The rate for overtime work is higher than the normal rate. We said the rate of the overtime is normally higher than the normal time rate. Usually it is double. Usually it is at the double rate. The extra amount so paid over the normal rate is called overtime premium. For the example, Mr. Ram, who is the employee in XYZ company, and he received 100 rupees per hour in the case of normal time. Due to the in the case of overtime, he will be eligible to take 200 rupees per hour. Then the 100 rupees, 200 minus 100 is equal to 100 rupees is to be considered as overtime. Then on the basis of this definition, we understand what is the meaning of overtime, overtime premium, and what is the meaning of overtime payment. Now we will discuss the causes of overtime and the treatment of overtime premium in the cost accounting. Now we will discuss the causes. Now we will discuss the causes of overtime and the treatment of such overtime premium in the cost accounting. Cause number one is the customer may agree to bear the entire charges of overtime because emergency or urgency of work. The customer may agree to bear. The customer will agree to bear the all the entire charges of overtime because he has some urgent work. Then the treatment will be if the overtime is resorted to at the desire of customer. If there is an employee who is doing the overtime on the desire of customer, then the overtime premium may be charged to the job directly, or such overtime will be charged from the customer directly. Cause number two is overtime may be called for to make up any shortfall in the production due to such unexpected development. The overtime, which may be called for to make up any shortfall in the production, and such shortfall is arise due to the some unexpected development. In this case, if the overtime is required to cap with a general production program or for meeting the urgent order, then such overtime should be treated as overhead cost of the particular department or of the particular center. If the overtime which is required to cap with general production programs or for meeting the urgent order, then such overtime premium should be treated as overtime cost or overhead cost of the particular department or of a particular center which works overtime. Cause 3 is overtime work may be necessary to make up a shortfall in the production due to the fault of management. When there is any overtime which may be arise due to the which is necessary to make up a shortfall in the production, and the shortfall which is arise due to the some fault of management. In this case, the treatment will be if the overtime is worked, if there is any overtime and the overtime is worked in the department due to a fault of another department, then the overtime premium is to be charged from the later department or from the another department. Cause number 4 is overtime work may be resorted to or secure an outer in excess of normal output to take advantage of expanding market or rising the demand. In this case, when there is any overtime which is required to secure an turnover, to secure an outer to secure a turnover in excess of normal output to take the advantage of expansion in market or rising the demand. In this case, the treatment of such overtime will be the overtime worked an account of abnormal condition such as flood, earthquake, etc. In this case, it should not be charged to the cost, but it is transferred to closing profit and loss account. Is that when there is an overtime which is arise due to the abnormal condition such as flood, earthquake, etc., then it should not be charged directly from the product, but it should be transferred to costing profit and loss account. Example. Now we will discuss the calculation of overtime on the basis of example so that it will become more clear. So on the basis of this example, we will understand how to calculate the amount of overtime or calculate the earning of Mr. A and Mr. B from the following particular for a month and allocate the employee cost to each job X, Y, and Z. There is a requirement to calculate the total earning of A and B and allocate the employee cost to each job X, Y, and Z. Then employee A and employee B. The basic wages of employee A is 10,000 and for employee B is 16,000. DNS allowances 50% of basic basis, and contribution to the provident fund on basic wages is 8%, and contribution to employee state insurance ESI is 2%, and overtime hours of A is 10 hours. The normal working hours for the month are 200. The normal working hours for the month of 200, and the overtime is paid at double. Is that the overtime is paid double the total of normal wages and DNS allowance? Is that it is a 200% of basic plus DNS allowance. Employers' contribution to state insurance and PF are at equal rate with employee contribution. The two workers were employed to job X, Y, and Z. Two workers A and B are employed for job X, Y, and Z in the following proportion. Worker A and worker B and job X, Y, and Z. Worker A perform 40% of job X and 30% of job Y and 30% in job Z, and worker B involved 50% in job X, 20% in job Y, and 30% in job X. Then this is the question, or this is an example. Or now we will discuss the total earning of Mr. X, sorry, Mr. A and Mr. B, and the allocation of cost, employee cost in job X, job Y, and job Z. Now, first we will prepare a statement of earning of Mr. X. Sorry. Now, first we will prepare a statement of earning of worker A and worker B. Basic basis 10,000 of A and 16,000 of B. DNS allowance is 50% of basic. Then 5,000 and 8,000 rupees. And overtime is 1,500, 1,500. Then the total amount of the basis 16,500 and 24,000. And the contribution which is made to the PF is, the amount of contribution is 800, and in the case of B is 1,280 rupees. And the contribution to ESI is 20%. There it is 200 and 320. Means provident fund contribution is 8% for basic, and contribution to ESI is 20% of basic. Then the net basis earned by Mr. A and Mr. B is 15,500 and 22,400. This is the basic, sorry, this is the total earning of worker A and worker B. So on the basis of this chart, now we can understand how to calculate the total earning of the workers. And now we will prepare a statement of employee cost. Gross wages excluding the overtime is 15,000 and 24,000. Add employer's contribution to PF is 800, which is the 8%, and 1,280 rupees. And employer contribution to ESI, which is 2%, is 2,200 rupees and 320 rupees. Then the gross wages earned is equal to 16,000 plus, and in the case of B is 25,600, and the normal working hours is 200 working hours. Then ordinary wages per hour, then the ordinary wages rate per hour is equal to 16,000 divided by 200, which is 80 rupees in the case of A. And in the case of B is 25,600 divided by 2, which is 1,000, which is 128 rupees. Then this is the statement of employee cost. And the wages rate per hour of A is 80 rupees and for B is 128 rupees. Now we will show the statement of allocation of wages to job X, Y, and Z. Ordinary wages ratio is 4 is to 3 is to 3. 4 is to 3 is to 3 in the case of worker A, he because Mr. A involved 40% in X, 30% in Y, and 30% in Z. Then total wages of Mr. A is 16,000 and the overtime is 1,500. Then the 16,000 are divided into X, Y, and Z in the ratio of 4 is to 3 is to 3. Then for X, it is 6,400, for Y is 4,800, and for Z is 4,800. And the amount of overtime is to be done by Mr. X for by job, then it is full amount to be included in the Y. Then it is 1,500. And in the case of worker B, the ordinary wages is 25,600 and Mr. Bai involve in 50% in job X, 20% in job Y, and 30% in job Z. Then the allocation of the wages is to be made according to 5 is to 2 is to 3. Then for job X, it is 12,800 and for Y 5,120 and for Z 7,680. Then the total wages for job X is 19,200 and for Y job is 11,420 and for Z job is 12,480 rupees. On the basis of this, we can understand how to allocate the basis for the particular jobs, because total amount of basis is 43,100 and the on the basis of allocation, it job work the job X has the basis is that the total cost of job X is 19,200, for job Y is 11,420 and for job Z is 12,480 rupees. This is the statement on the basis of which we can allocate the wages to the particular jobs. There is a calculation of working hour, normal working hours 1,500. The normal working hours are considered as basic working, basic wages plus overtime. Then 2 into basic wages plus DA into 10 hours overtime divided by 200. Total normal basic hours. Then it is as 1,500 normal wages. Now we will discuss labor utilization. Now we will discuss how to utilize the utilization of labor. For identifying utilization of labor, a statement is prepared for each department or for each cost center. Is that when there is any organization want to know about the utilization of the labor, in this respect, a statement is required to be made for each department or for each cost center. This statement should show the actual time. On the basis of this statement, the entity can know about the actual time paid for and the standard time which is allowed for the production and the abnormal ideal the abnormal idle time which is analyzed for the cause thereof. Is that this statement show the actual time which is paid, and it is also show the standard time, and it is also show the standard time which is allowed for the production, and it is also include the abnormal idle time. Number one, identification of utilization of labor with the cost center. First, we will identify First, we will identify the utilization of labor with the cost center. For the identification of utilization of labor with the cost center, a WASIS analysis sheet is prepared. Is that when the organization want to identify the utilization of labor with the particular cost center, then a proper wages analysis sheet is required to be prepared. Wages analysis sheet means it is a statement in which wages paid are analyzed according to the cost center. The wages analysis sheet is a statement in which total amount of wages which is paid are analyzed according to the cost center, according to the work order, or according to the job. The data for the analysis is provided by wages sheet, time card, piecework card, and job card. Is that the data for the analysis are to be uh, recovered or on the basis of job sheet, time card, piecework card, and job card. We can obtain the data which can be used for the purpose of analysis. The preparation of the sheet serve the following purpose. Is that for the following purpose, the visit analysis sheet is prepared. Number one, to analyze the labor time into direct or indirect labor by cost center, job, and work order. Is that on the basis of such sheet, the entity can analyze the labor time into direct or indirect labor by cost center, by a job, or by a work order. This analysis sheet also provide the details. This sheet also provide the detail of direct labor cost. This wages analysis sheet also provide the detail of direct labor cost which comprise of wages and overtime, which is to be charged as production cost of cost center, job, and job order. And this sheet also provide the information. This sheet also provide the information for the treatment of indirect labor cost as a overhead. Is that on the basis of this sheet we get also take the information about the treatment of indirect labor cost which is considered as overhead expenses. So on the basis of wages analysis sheet, we can identify all these points. Then after, we will identify the labor hours with work order or batches or a capital job. Is that now for the purpose of labor utilization, we will identify the labor hours with a particular work order for a particular batch or for a particular job. For identification of the labor hours with the work order or jobs or batches and capital job or overhead work order, the following points are to be noted. When there is an organization which identifying the labor hours with a particular job for with the labor work order or batches or the capital job, then these following points are to be noted. Number one, direct labor hours can be identified with the particular work order. The direct labor hour can be identified. The direct labor hour can be identified with the particular work order or batch or the capital job or the overhead work order on the basis of detail which is recorded on the source document as such as timesheet or job card. Is that the direct labor hours can be identified with the particular work or with the particular batch or capital job or overhead work order on the basis of details which are recorded on source document such as timesheet or job card. And point 2 is the indirect labor hours. The indirect labor hours cannot be directly identified with the particular work order or batches or capital job or overhead job orders. Therefore, they are traced to job center or cost center and then assigned to the work order or batches or capital job or overhead work order by using the overhead absorption rate. Is that the indirect labor hours cannot be identified directly with the particular work order or with a particular batches or capital job or the overhead work. Therefore, the indirect labor hours are traced to cost center, then assigned to the work order and assigned to the work order or assigned to any current job, capital job or overhead work done by using the overhead absorption rate. This is part 1 of employee cost. In this part, we have discussed control of labor hours or control of labor cost and definitions, meaning of idle times, overhead, sorry, utilization of labor and overtime. And we have also discussed the some examples on the basis of which we can discuss or we can understand how to calculate the employee cost or how to calculate the idle time, labor time, and how to calculate overtime. There is also a second part of employee cost. Kindly consider second part also for the proper and the full understanding of employee cost. Thank you so much for watching this video. Okay, bye bye.